and then you can just be sad about it. Alright, so I bet we will be able to make it through this lesson quickly. And Richard's begging me to play this game with him, so I think he would appreciate that. A game that we'll play if we get through class.
Wait, go.
So,
Yeah, Chris.
no, but we could play Go. Ugh. So, converses. What's an inverse? So not converse, but what's an inverse?
Isn't it just like the opposite? But there's something different than converse and inverse because they're both opposites.
No, converse is not opposite.
What? Oh yeah, it's a
That's why I had to look up in Google what's the
Wait.
Converse. Because it was on the home.
You could have looked it up in your book. See?
I looked it up, I didn't show up. I didn't come
Oh.
to
An inverse, right, is opposites, like additive inverses. A converse is just flip it. So, in if-then statements, we have a hypothesis and a conclusion, right? If two lines are parallel, then alternate interior angles are congruent, or like the if and then the then. So, to make a converse, if you have if P then Q, you flip it and you say if Q then P. So if, like yesterday, and this is why like yesterday shouldn't have been such a mind blow. When we had this yesterday, right, and we said like, well, those lines have to be parallel. We didn't start with if the lines are parallel. We're starting with if the angles are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. There's the converse of the theorem that we have. So we're going to work through and look at some converses, not the shoes, and then we'll probably get some time for homework.
I mean, converses are nice. But they're nice.
I
wear converses at home all the time. I can't wear them in school.
Okay, so the other thing about converses is this is how we check if a definition is good, right? If it's like complete. Hey Thomas, can you do this? Thank you very much. So if we think of the statement, if angles are vertical, then they are congruent, is the converse of that true? No, right? Because if angles are congruent, then they are vertical. That's saying like any set of congruent angles have to be vertical. That's not true.
That would be a weird square.
You get weird square.
How do we?
So, is the original statement true? If angles are vertical, then they're congruent?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But because it's just such a quick, narrowly defined statement, it can't be flipped to the converse, and it's not a great definition. So it doesn't mean it's like bad or not true. It just means it could be better. A really good quality definition can be flipped, inverted, all like everything is true. I think we did some of that in Math 1, but if not, we'll do more of it this year here.
What would be that?
So if triangles are congruent, then, that's what their arrow is being used for, all pairs of corresponding sides are congruent. If I flip that, what would the converse be?
All pairs of corresponding angles.
Chris, because your hand's up.
If all pairs of corresponding angles are congruent, all the triangles are congruent. That is not true.
Well, so be careful. We have to set up the statement particularly. We have to sometimes take a little bit of the if, even when we flip to the converse. So, if in triangles, all corresponding sides are congruent. Here. Yeah, so sorry, we're right here. So if we flip this to the converse, we'd say like, if in a triangle, all corresponding sides are congruent, then the triangles are congruent. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. If the triangles aren't congruent, would corresponding sides not be congruent? That's true, right? If they're not congruent, corresponding, like, all, I guess we could say all, right? Not all pairs would be congruent. This is what we're talking about, flipping it, inverting it, like making the not statements. And then we could try the inverse of the converse. I'm like over teaching right now. Yeah, so we have the inverse converse contrapositive, and all these like. Yeah. So I'm over teaching right now. So we should just come right back here.
Over teaching.
And then
So now think angles. If triangles are congruent, all pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. Converse it. Thomas, what's converse?
If in a triangle all pairs of corresponding angles are congruent, the triangles are congruent.
Is that true?
Yes.
They're just similar, right? They're not congruent. So counterexamples are ways that we disprove this, right? Hopefully we know what a counterexample is. I'm not going to pop that up. Let's try E. A polygon is a rectangle if the area of the polygon is base times height. Levi, what do you think about that?
If the area of the polygon is base times height, then it is a rectangle.
Is that true?
For a square.
Could be a square,
Square's a rectangle.
but that's a rectangle.
Could be a square.
Wrong.
Could
Could it be a triangle too? But that's base times height times height.
No.
That's both.
Is true.
If it's in a square, that would be
Height.
That's
Where's
true,
a
that's true.
rectangle?
No,
Height's not base times height.
So
Height's more complicated.
yes.
Guys,
A parallelogram.
parallelogram,
Because
guys.
if you take a triangle, it's base times height,
Oh, that's fine.
and then you
Parallel.
divide it by 1/2. I mean, multiply by half.
So the converse is not true, right? Because it could be a parallelogram, which is not a rectangle. So, and this actually is like, yeah, especially since exactly what we were just talking about. If we take the definition, all squares are rhombuses, and we flip it to the converse, all rhombuses are squares. It's false, right? So that's not a great definition there.
It's like the square rectangle. Like the most also.
Every isosceles triangle is equilateral.
Well,
Every equilateral triangle is isosceles. Ooh, that's true.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
so even though the original statement is false, the converse of it's true.
because they could have just said an equilateral triangle and isosceles and then take the inverse.
I know, but it didn't. So it's just pointing out that you could have a false statement, but the converse still be true. So the converse being true does not mean that the statement was a good statement to begin with. Converse being true, you still need the original to be true. Two parallel lines cut by a transversal form same side interior angles that are supplementary. Is that true?
Yeah.
So now let's see the connection to the lesson that we did yesterday. Flip it to the converse. If same side interior angles are supplementary,
Then they must be.
then the lines must be parallel. Is that true? Yeah. So those lines yesterday had to be parallel,
Don't you do it.
even though they didn't look like it.
Bet.
Okay, so converse is a really quick lesson, and the concept behind it is really quick. So because later in the year the lessons will be so dense that you won't really have any homework time in class, we have two options here. We can either keep moving forward and like do 2-2-1, or we can chill and do homework. Well, he's asking about like Pokemon. So the other thing we need to talk about is what do you guys want to do on Friday? Because I will not be here. I'm taking a personal day to spend the day with my wife because it's her last day before she starts a new job. I thought that would be nice. So, no, and especially because there's a sub, I will never leave a sub with just like, oh, just let him play. My thoughts, because we're not like anywhere, well, not that we're super far away from the end of the chapter, but we're not like really close to the end of the chapter.
We could do
We're really not that. No, we're about to spend like the whole day today.
no,
doing
like a
it.
homework collection day, like where we get a lot of homework straight.
We do that Friday anyway.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so
It might take you a sec.
if stop, I already said I'm not just gonna leave a sub to have you guys play games. Like that's the worst thing as a sub. You're trying to manage a room of kids like just playing, like doing random. That's the worst. Okay, I subbed for 6
All the
months.
stuff playing to play games.
So here's the alternative option. If we keep moving, and today do 2-2-1, and then tomorrow do 2-2-2, then Friday you could just have a work Friday, no, you would not be able to sweet talk them into let's just play Go or Set or whatever, unless you had all your homework done.
Let's do 2-2-1.
So let's look at what 2-2-1 is and see what you guys think.
Do we have to do the homework for both?
Well, you would then have Friday to do it, right? Like that would be your day that you get to catch up.
Like the hardest thing we'll do.
No. It's dilations. Now here's the problem, because I wasn't completely ready for how fast we did that. I need to get out. Like this has an activity that I don't think we'll be able to do today, which is fine because we can just do it tomorrow. But if we want to talk about dilations, and then tomorrow, I forget what 2-2-2 is.
Did you know what dilations like last year?
We do it every year.
Yeah, you're gonna keep extending on your and similarity. So we do dilations before similarity because shapes are similar because they're dilated.
Yeah. We just do today's homework. Or shape and dilated.
So if today you just want to do work, then on Friday you would be I would be asking you to just work through 2-2-2 on your own, like as your groups, and then when you get the lesson done, you would just have time to do homework.
I mean, we're just gonna be working either way.
Exactly.
What about 2-2?
So the question really is, do you feel like doing another lesson right now, or do you want to just work on that homework and then we'll just lesson tomorrow and lesson Friday?
Just do it.
So let's shut our eyes because this is easier.
Oh.
Steven's like totally like, man, just make up your mind, like just do something.
It doesn't matter.
Shut your eyes. Raise your hand if you would like to spend the rest of today working on practice work.
Wait, does that mean 2-2-1?
No, practice, like your homework. Sorry. So raise your hand if you just want to spend 2 days doing your homework and just lesson Thursday, lesson Friday. Okay. Raise your hand if you want to do a lesson right now. Just move forward. Tight vote. All right, hands down. We will spend the rest of today doing homework.
Yeah!
It won by a single vote.
Steven.
There were 5 people, so it didn't lose votes.
It's still like 5 people.
Yeah, all 5 of them. Like,
I need 4.
Raise your hand.
we will still. Most of chapter 2 are quicker lessons, so still tomorrow we'll probably still have time to do homework. And Friday, if you guys stay on task, you'll get done with the lesson like kind of quickly, and you'll have time to do homework. So that's also one of the reasons I haven't been cutting your homeworks down. Is like we've got time.
Where is the graph paper? I should know.
Multiple places.
I should know by now. Where?